You know, this kind of comments really irk me because it gives a false number that discourages a lot of people. That's the thing I'm looking for. Discourages a lot of people in terms of their own retirement planning. Simply because the expected number is so ridiculously big. Let's see this comment. If a person is in 30s, minimum amount to earn is 18,000 a month. No exaggeration. Today's value of 18,000 is 6,000. Really? $18,000 a month. Now, I know how this 18,000 is calculated. From 6,000, if you inflate 4% per annum for 30 years, boom, you get to 18,000. In fact, you get to this number, $19,460 a month. That is a ridiculous number, correct? But let's use 18,000. If you spend 18,000 a month, that means you spend 216,000 per year. And if you need a 4% dividend from your investment portfolio, you need $5.4 million to retire. So my question again is, how many people can build that sum of money? Can we build that with $1,000 a month invested for 30 years? Maybe let's throw in a very good rate of return, 10% per annum rate of return. Do you know that only still gives 2.26 million only after 30 years of compounding 10% per annum, $1,000 a month? Not that easy, right, to hit $5.4 million. And I can safely tell you, I only have a handful of private clients who have a net worth that is more than $5.4 million today. And from reports, if you're above $3.84 million today, you're already in the top 1% wealthiest people in Singapore. But I know what you're thinking. This is present value. What we're talking is future value. So future value of 30 years, we do need to get a very big number. And 4% used in just now's example to inflate from 6,000 per month to 18,000 is not excessive. After all, the CPF full retirement sum increases by 3.5% per annum, correct? So inflation rate 4% as an assumption is not excessive. I get it. And let's use 6,000 per month again to inflate at say 3.5% per annum, a smaller amount. We'll still get to $16,840 per month needed in terms of expenses. And the portfolio to build is $5 million. Now, I don't know how many of you watching this have real conviction and real confidence of getting to 5 million in 30 years now, because it's like doing big yearly goals. My big yearly goal is to reach something by December, and then by April, you realize that you're not even one quarter way there and you kind of give up. I don't want that to happen. That's why I created this content to really give a different point of view as to how much you might need for your own retirement. Because quite clearly, the first problem is not 4% per annum. It's the 6,000 per month in terms of expenses. Now, how many of us have 6,000 per month in terms of expenses? There are some, I get it. But the average income in Singapore is actually $4,600 only per month. So 6,000 per month expenses, that is of course on the higher side of things. And in any case, research has shown that to lead a comfortable average lifestyle, $6,424 per month is needed for a household of 4 people. So aiming for 6,000 expenses per month for each individual is not something that can be widely adopted. And when it comes to retirement planning, it's not a wish. There is a price to get there, correct? You're sacrificing the present, you're working hard, forsaking current enjoyment to save up money for the future. You cannot touch it. There is a price to pay. And that's why understanding expenses is vitally important. Now let's use back 6,000 expenses per month. For that individual, there is still income tax, correct? There's still childcare expense, correct? There's still insurance premium. All these theoretically should drop off in retirement. Therefore, the real retirement expenses are not going to be $6,000 even for a person that's incurring $6,000 per month in expenses. You follow me to here? That's why most research have shown that 70% of current expenses are a good enough target already on average, which means if you are spending $6,000 per month in expenses now, your target is only $4,200 per month when you plan for your retirement. If you're spending only $3,000 per month, your target is actually only $2,100 per month in your retirement expenses. But also understand what you're thinking. Okay, even if it's say $4,200, we still need to inflate this at 3.5% or 4%, correct? Now let me use an analogy to really help you understand deflation in retirement. Let's use roti prata. Think about this. The cheapest roti prata out there in the hawker centers are about $1. We don't say the one in the food court, we don't say the one that's in restaurants. We say the cheapest available one for roti prata is $1. Take note again, when it comes to your retirement, you are likely having the time and luxury to go and hunt for the cheaper foods. You don't need convenience, grab food to come in. So again, let's use $1 for roti prata. Right now, like for example myself, I eat 3 pieces or sometimes maybe even 4 pieces. But usually 3 now. In my younger years, I eat 4 pieces of roti prata just to be full. That means if we put it to simplistic terms, 4 pieces of $1, I'll be spending $4 on a roti prata meal. Now when I first started working, I remember roti prata was 50 cents only. It has indeed increased over the last 10-15 years. And therefore, let's inflate this roti prata to something that looks like what it will cost in the cheapest hawker center in 30 years time. Now we should expect roti prata's cheapest to be $1 to, in a few years time, $1.20, the cheapest you can find. And then a few years more, the cheapest you can find $1.50, then $1.80, then $2, etc, etc. Is it fair to assume that in 30 years time, the cheapest roti prata around is $4 per piece? But wait, again, if you are like me, 30 years time, 60s, do we still eat 3-4 pieces of roti prata? Probably not, right? 1.5 to 2 piece full already. You think about the elderly. Do they eat that much? They don't, right? Even comparing teenage to right now, if you are in adulthood, you understand that the amount that you eat is drastically different. And why can't this amount drop? Very likely it is, right? Which means in 30 years time, for myself example, I'll only be needing 2 pieces of roti prata to be full. That's probably more than enough. Which means even if the roti prata is $4 per piece, I'll only still spend $8. Currently, I spend $4 because of my consumption diet. I only spend $8 when it comes to retirement. The inflation is not that big actually, which means if you use 100% growth in terms of what it costs for my meal to be satisfied in 30 years time, the real inflation cost to my meal is only about 2.5%. There are more things that we can cut back on. For example, now we like to eat organic food. Now we like to have a pint of beer in our meal. All this will be also different. In an older age, what is needed to be happy could just from Japanese meal with a sake beer all the way changing to coffee and toast. There is a drastic drop in the day-to-day consumption even for food. So I'd like to drive home this point. There is indeed deflation. Maybe due to expectation, maybe due to health reasons, maybe due to other circumstances. But it is real. There is real deflation when it comes to your retirement. You have a luxury to make different choices. And most retirees, if you interview them, they do indeed choose simpler things as they age because they know that their resources are not finite. They have other fears, which I'll touch on in a quick while. Now, watching to here, if you also agree that you don't need $18,000 per month for your expenses and $5.4 million on investment pot to retire, help me smash on like button so that we can reach a bigger audience. That the real target to aim for is not that big. It is big, you need to start building urgently. But at a certain point, it's probably enough. And don't be afraid to consume it, which is the second point. Many in this channel have left comments before when I've suggested in previous videos that if we were to just take dividends, 5.4 million, you take dividend out, you don't want to consume capital, you realize that 5.4 million is very daunting. I would like to suggest ways to reduce that. The first reason we don't want to consume capital, if we look at it objectively, not being personal, look at it objectively, is fear. Fear of outliving your resources. You have that fear, I have that fear. Any elderly now on the street also has that fear. But fear is fear. We need to see where is inaccuracies. It is also as extreme as YOLO. You only live once. Because YOLO means that you go and do bungee jumping now, you spend all your money, you go and gamble hard, you don't have a tomorrow. You are living only for today. That is one extreme. The other extreme is we are assuming we can live to 120 years old, that we need to protect this capital. What if we outlive it? Now that in itself, if you look at it objectively, is pretty extreme. Firstly, if you have done a will, you're already assuming that you might anytime die. How come that consistency is not brought to the assumption on how much capital you need for your own retirement? The second is if we innately assume that we live to 120 years, so we don't outlive resources. But the national average for lifespan is only 85 years. Why are we having that biasness? And in that case, we have also known friends and family members who have passed away way before 85. How can that not be a probability to any of us? Now with that, I'd like to slow down a bit. Imagine this. At the deathbed, you still have $1 million. That $1 million now suddenly seems too much. Why? Because if we understand the journey, time is money, money is time. You wish that $1 million could be converted to some other time that you can spend with your family. You can't bring anything away from this world. That $1 million that you've sacrificed because you missed your child's first concert, because you have missed the retirement trip to US that your parents wanted so that you can complete your promotion. All these are all sacrifices you did to accumulate this $1 million. And now at this last stage, you can't bring it away. You wish it could be converted to memories, to salvage back something that's more meaningful to you than this $1 million that will be given to your beneficiaries. So think very carefully. The sacrifices you make today for your future, you can't get it back. Which means if you have 1 million at your last day, you have 1 million possibly too much that you could have used or you could have exchanged for time in your younger years. I know it sounds very weird. And as an advisor, the usual pitch or what I've been trained in my industry is to tell people to save money for the future. That's the only message. But now I'm giving you a contradictory statement, which is if you have 1 million at your last day, you have 1 million too much. You could have worked less. You could have not put in so much at your younger years. You could have, don't make that sacrifice in your younger years. I also understand there is other fears at work, which are not true. You know, we associate running out of resources in retirement with like observing old folks who are at hawker centers cleaning tables, or security guards who are in their 70s, or 80s, 90s old granny collecting cardboard boxes to make a living. We don't want that to happen to us. We have that fear because right now you have a good lifestyle. I get it, but we also need to recognize it's a fear. Think about this. You are resourceful. You have built up your income. You have built up your wealth. Use that same resourcefulness to figure ways to cut back on your expenses or to make certain income at your older age. And in any case, it helps keep your mind active. You have a goal rather than sitting on a beach and idling away, not knowing what to do with that $5.4 million. Let me suggest a few quick parts. The first is you can downsize your house. Right now, I'm staying in a condo. I've told my wife before, if there ever is a need for our children that we need to sell this house, go back to our 3-room HDB, fine. No issues. Downgrading, there's no shame to it. I've never seen it that way. Even if you don't want, second solution, you can always do a reverse mortgage to take out monies from your house. You can't bring the house away on your last day. So why not do a reverse mortgage if you really need resources? Again, it's if you really need resources, you've depleted your investments, you really need resources because you're already way past your age of 85. DBS has a reverse mortgage for private properties. HDB, they have a sell-back lease program. These can all be explored. The third way is to find ways to cut back on your expenses creatively. You know, elderlies, NTUC FairPrice also has an elderly discount. There are coupons that you can pick up. You can search for free food. You can search for free rewards. There are so many things that if you have a lot of time in your 70s, you can actually go and fiddle with them and be a bit more cheapskate. And the eventual amount that you spend can actually be reduced by all these various methods. In conclusion, the main message for today is you may not need such a big amount for retirement. The expenses you're seeing now are likely going to be way lesser in your retirement. The fear of inflation on, for example, food has a lot of angles, and there is real deflation in your whole retirement expense. And last but not least, a lot of your fears of outliving your resources are just fears. They may or may not come true, and you can always trust yourself that you can find solutions to get yourself out of bad situations. So with that, again, help me smash the like button so that we can reach a bigger audience with this message. And in any case, I always believe that CPF full retirement sum is sufficient for basic healthcare needs, which means that anything above is really our own wants, it's not needs. And if you have CPF Life full retirement sum, just that only, you are likely actually okay. So if you haven't seen how much you need for full retirement sum or enhanced retirement sum, check out this previous video. I especially handpicked it because within it, I've actually tables to show you what are the projected monthly amounts if you get to ERS and FRS. And if you also agree that quite possibly there is base level needs, and if worst case situation happens, you go back to that basic level, it's still not the end of the world. Check that video out, and I'll see you the next time. Take care and goodbye.